Hey everyone, thanks again for joining us for another conversation with the Feathered Serpent. I am your host, Kat, and today I just wanted to introduce our conversation as it primarily deals with a comment we received on our episode 3. There were some questions, and the Feathered Serpent thought it would be wise to share this information with everyone in an actual video. So that is the focus of today's conversation. We jump into it pretty quick, so I just wanted to preface that a little bit. And he does share some books. He actually pulls out books to share with you what they're called, the information. And I just wanted to say that it's not that he needs to reference these books or materials. In fact, a lot of them were written well after he used to teach on this stuff. So he just uses it to show you that if you want to do further research on your own, these particular books would be very helpful for the information that he shares. Please continue to subscribe and comment and ask us questions. It's super important that we receive your comments. And for our subscribed members, thank you so much for subscribing. But also, when our new content is released, it's super important that you actually watch the content because the algorithm will consider any content we share with our subscribers. If it's not being watched, it'll just consider it not valid or not really good, and it actually won't promote it through the algorithm. So we're just trying to get our message out, connect with our tribe, and share this information. Subsequent conversations will be focusing more on the Harmony Project, unless other questions and comments come up, of course. And we just dive into further aspects of the website, of the project. He will be focusing on the biomancy protocols and discussing what those are and how relevant and how important they are for our way forward. So thank you so much again, and we will jump right into this conversation. And there was just a couple questions, and I think it's really important to address this and answer these. What did you want to say about this?
Well, so in addressing her comment, I'm not going to discuss the part where she says she was initiated by a handler or any Luciferian lines. But what I am going to say, she said she works with standing mounds and standing stones. I'd like to know more about that. So let's talk about that. In particular, a book that will discuss this as well. In 2 seconds, I'll grab that.
Okay.
So in this book, which, sorry, but for people that said they
Mm.
didn't want to see the background, now this is what happens. See, um, it won't even let me show a book cover. Okay, Seed
Yeah.
of Knowledge, Stone of Plenty. Okay, so these are two scientists that go around the world looking at sacred sites, and they find that 87% of them are built with magnetic stones on ley lines and have a very, very important function. And this important function they actually photographed. And what they photographed was just one of their photographs, there's many in the book, is an Iroquois cairn, a seed cairn, during a thunderstorm. And you can see here, sorry, two pictures of this is the cairn. Okay, why are you doing that, camera? That's the cairn on the
And what is a cairn?
well, that's just exactly what you see there. So you can look it up. It's a place to store seeds, and they have a
Oh, okay.
altar stone, and the stones around the walls are, I don't know, why is it doing this? Stone
There you
around the walls are negative charged, and the ones on the roof are positive charged. And you can see during a thunderstorm when they use an infrared photograph, you'll see that there's a ball of energy on the altar stone right there. Okay.
go.
When seeds are placed into that ball of energy for 70 minutes, they go from producing a yield, which is what you see at the bottom there. And you can see there's only about six prime cobs to a yield of that.
Mm.
Okay. So you can see that was a way of creating food, nutritionally dense food uh, in an increased output. Now, she asked particularly about local mounds and standing stones. Those were markers of ley line nexus points. So in the book, they talk about there's a Native American um, uh, structure in back east. It's called the Snake Hill, and it's literally a hill with stones placed on it, and it moves like a snake and has a head. And they talk about how every society in the world had ways marking these sacred sites. Sacred sites simply means you can use them for thought amplification and energy work, as they just illustrated in those pictures. They needed to mark them, and they would and mounds. So these are places where people can feel if they're intuitive, either positive or negative energies. Now, negative energies aren't bad. Okay, it's just like the yin yang, and who's looked at Reich's work. Negative organ, positive organ. You can have too much positive organ. You can have too much negative organ. Not as simple as saying positive things are good and negative things are bad. Nexus points are either input where the vortex is outward portals. Remember what I said, because the Earth has the same thing. And next are cases of major and minor chakras. Another book that people want to pick up that will prove the science we're talking about here is Semantics. This is an important book because Hans Jenny's work on studying vibratory fields and their on matter. Okay, so you can, different frequencies, and they have different effects on different substances. And they learned how to combine as many as up to 5,000 different frequencies to form complex. So you can actually get highly complex objects, ferrometal, and you'll understand things are simply basic frequency charts. So the symbol for this is just a frequency. In fact, the Star of David is just a frequency. Excellent book, Pyramid Power by Patrick Flanagan. We'll point out what pyramids do. Okay, so the things that were discussed in here and that are on the Harmony Project are based in science. Okay, and that is science. But what I mean by that is something can test and replicate. Okay, and then another important book, although kind of hokey, is Anti-Gravity in the World Grid. This talks about how the grid was utilized, in fact, at certain locations, and just the gravity is trick that people, it's not really a trick, but an old folk thing that people do, which is, oh God, this blurry background. See, for all the people that didn't want to look at this is why I didn't, and now you've got to suffer through this annoying bullshit. So that's on you, all you fuckers. Okay, so anyway, God. Okay. It's also Mercury retrograde, so we're like dealing with this BS. So you can see here is what happens to get around a person, and they do this trick where you use this to lift up a person. Now you notice that while you like this, you've got the joint being able to resist, but if you do this, there's no strength that you can apply because your joint bends this way. You're lifting somebody this way, it's obviously not with the strength of your muscle power. Just by imagining that person in a party trick, you can actually throw a person up over your heads. Okay. So that was a big dovetail from what she asked, which was what were the standing stone markers for minor and major grid points. Okay. Nothing is percent because I'm sure you just have people randomly placing stones sometimes in the bush. You should be able to feel these spots. There will be positive locations and there'll be negative locations. All are useful. And that's what standing stones are.
Right.
Okay, so it's important when you're doing energy work to know how to ground yourself. And that is when you go out into the ground, forest idea, but any ground will work with bare feet. Literally, energy can ground out so you don't build it up to harmful levels within the body. This is very important because if you build up these energy levels, know how to control them, working with energy should be under the guidance of a more experienced person. Now, yes, you can have bad gurus or bad shamans, And by the way, when she said she already works with the grid, well, that's possible, but the feathered serpent is me. So um, I don't know. I don't know you. So um, saying the feathered serpent energy, that's possible. And that's akin to saying that you work with a Christ consciousness kind of level of
Right.
energy. And that is simply meaning that you are both aware of the collective and the individual simultaneously.
Just to touch on the grounding, one can't go out like we do. Like you hear a lot about grounding meditations and all of that. Like, do those also anchor you and ground you? Like a visual, like a meditation?
The energy follows intention. So you'll notice when you look at the development of children, I mean, look at what children are doing. They see everybody else operating their body in a very, very advanced way, but it doesn't, and they get frustrated. They try to stand up and walk and they fall flat on their face. Well, because it takes time to connect the neural connections in your brain to the appropriate muscles and coordination. But it starts with your will. This is why exercise that strengthens are important. It strengthens your energy field. It strengthens your intention field. This then creates a energy cord of the neurons to grow down into your brain. Discovered this doing studies on stroke recovery victims. It used to be that when a person had a stroke, they wrote that person off, and the person was going to be paralyzed. But a kinesiologist, his father had a stroke and he just refused to believe that. He began working with her every day. And every day he would just sit out for 1 hour and visualize moving his hand. Nothing happened. So 6 years in total, the person had complete and total recovery. And when they did a MRI of his brain, the region that had gone black due to dying had been recolonized.
Mhm.
Okay. And what had happened is that when it actually went dark, the other parts of the brain grabbed that area and as extra processing power. And by visualizing and intending, then the neurons followed that back and reconnected with that brain, and he got his mobility back. And this is important. Training takes approximately 6 years. It takes 6 years, usually 2 to 3 years of just visualizing things before you're actually going to have anything happen
Mm.
as your reconnects that have been disconnected by the brainwashing that everybody's been exposed to. Um, and that's roughly, when you look at it, around like how long children take to really develop good physical coordination. Okay. So you'll see a kid, when he's in a high chair and he wants to reach a cup and he'll shoot, over it and spill it all over. He has no fine motor coordination, but he knows that it's possible because he's seeing all the adults do it. And that's really important. If we lived in a society saw people, doing meditation and doing advanced like levitating and what we call, magical practices, then we would think it was completely normal and natural, and everybody would be developing these abilities.
Yeah.
But
So they
but
can ground through visualization and intention,
so
but
so you use intention and
yeah.
visualization, but that is going to be semi-successful depending on how much
Right.
it is how the energy is controlled. The energy field is controlled through intention and visualization. Just like how you grab anything. What are you doing? You're intending for it to happen. So intention is the important thing that drives energy, especially subtle energy. Most people have to engage in regular practice for 2 to 3 years before they'll start seeing real effects. Okay. However, for grounding, sitting on the ground with your bare feet, even in an untrained way, will help bleed off any excess energy you're accumulating. The other thing to do is an exercise where you cross your hands and you pinch all along your ears, all the way along the outside edges of your ears. And this is spheres of the brain, and you'll actually feel like your brain has been recalibrated after this. This was a Finnish doctor that discovered this. Um, so those two things can be used to sort of like ground your energy if it's building G and Wi-Fi and movies. A lot of people are being driven insane. And the way to deal with that is to go out, put your feet on the ground, hug a tree, do that exercise I just showed you, harmonize your brain hemispheres, and take some really deep breaths. The intention of, visualization of the energy going down like roots in a tree will eventually result in you being to really ground yourself easily and anytime your energy gets hectic and frantic. Yeah, and definitely we are under effort to create chaos in people's minds. So, um, and she talks about her assembly repeatedly, and her energy was used to feed the group. Uh, all I can say is when you're involved with questionable groups, shielding exercises you can do is to do with visualization. So for many years, I did visualization, strengthening my aura, where I program my aura to reflect back any negative intentions on the sender and hypnotize yourself so that a certain hand shape, certain color cue or verbal cue can create an automatic defense program in this is stuff, but uh, I did some NLP stuff with you where we created a control room, created your own hand gestures or vocal cues for certain abilities that you wanted to be encoded into your aura. Again, it responds to intentions. So the best way to create a strong linkage with your aura is through self-hypnosis. Um, and that is the key, the bridge with to magical effects.
Mm, right.
So do you think that answered the question satisfactorily, or
I think
would you like
so.
to elaborate a little
I
bit?
think everyone could benefit from.
Okay. And again, this takes practice. I mean, a baby can't walk instantaneously. I mean, you know, stepping on the ground and visualizing will help, but when you practice this, it will do much, much more. And the world opens up. I mean, you can do incredible things. And defending yourself, you know, like I said, I program my aura to have certain responses when somebody sends negative intentions my way, as it amplifies it and sends it back to the sender.
Right.
Okay. And I don't even have to think about that. That's pre-programmed in.